Hey Lillywet and Litton, today I'm just going to show you a quick screencast and you could keep playing it if you're stuck on something, but we wanted to look at how you could basically swap skies. So what I've done is I've got my file here. This is a picture I took of Ashcroft a few weeks ago and it's kind of blah, like I like the texture down here, I like the light, but my sky is not super exciting. And I learned this trick this summer because almost all of the photographers there have cloud files. If they see a great sky, even if they don't have a great picture, they just take it of the sky and then they can import it later. So I've gotten this one. I've used Google Advanced Images, which you can use too, or you can use a different picture of a sky that you took. So today you're gonna be working in layers and sort of making a composite with two images to combine for a better one. Sorry guys, I'm sick, so I'm a little bit throaty today. So you're gonna use your cloud as your background file, and you're going to put this one on top of it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your rectangular marquee here and you're going to just crop it out. So you're going to select, I would just select the whole file because you can crop later if you don't want it. Once you see it moving, like once you see the frame of it moving, go edit, copy, then go back over to your clouds, edit, paste. Now, you may have a problem, which we've had, if the file is bigger that you're copying, that it only shows a corner. If that's the case, know that you can click here and you can move it. So you can, if you see only the cloud, only the top of your file, you can always move that and shrink it and just drag it to fit. So if you copied it and it looks really funky, it might just not be the right size and you might just have to drag it. And you can always do that by hitting this here. Nope, don't want to apply yet. I just want to get in the right spot. You want to cover up your first picture, sorry, your cloud picture with the other picture, which sometimes takes a little finessing, but I would always just sort of line it up on a corner. Drag it up. And if it doesn't fit perfectly, that's okay, because we can crop that out after. So I'm going to say, yep, that's okay. But don't worry about this corner for later. We're gonna pick that up later. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is all of a sudden you have layers over here. If you don't have layers, you're going to click up on the top tab. There's a bar that says window, and you're going to make sure that layers is checked. So I don't think my screencast is picking up my top bar, but in yours there should be a top bar in the elements editor that says window, and just make sure that layers is checked, because once layers is checked, then it pops up a window over here. So the next thing you're going to use is your eraser tool. And I would start big and move smaller. So see how, oh, that's way too big. That's a little dramatic. Oh, didn't like that. So edit, undo, eraser, because that was a bit much. I would make my, how's that? Nope, that's too small. So just sort of fiddle with how it, and I'm just going to start with the sky. Here I don't have to do anything super detailed yet because I'm not at the horizon line. I got really close to it there, so you want to leave like a little bit of space on your horizon line. You don't want to do that yet. Only because you're gonna have to zoom in. There's no way to do it effectively if you're just fitting it to screen. So here I've got this. It looks a little funky for now. I'm gonna press Control plus, and all of a sudden you see that zooming in. Once you get to the pixel level, and when I say the pixel level, that means that it's like you can start to see the squares. Now you can come in. Now this is still too big, so I'm going to shrink down my size. And I might even go smaller than that. This is where the real detail hits in, so I would actually go probably to about there. And you just want to finesse that line. You want to get rid of all of the front ground sky, and it's a tough line to do, so if you find that that's still too big, you might want to go small. Don't rush this, because if you rush this you're gonna get kind of a hack job. Even like what I'm doing here is kind of a hack job, but it takes a long time and you probably don't really need to watch a screencast of me doing it, but I'll show you what I would do if I was going to finish my photo. So I would zoom in even more. Control plus to go in, Control minus to go out. I would put my size down even lower, maybe even lower than that. And I would just go very close, so you can almost see individual pixels start to go. So I would go quite close in. That's another sort of background layer, so I can leave that. So if I was going to do bit by bit, I zoom in till you can see squares, and then you go really, really slow. So I'm going to do just sort of a hack job for you guys right now, just so you can kind of get an idea. Control, and then zoom out and see what it looks like, right? Here again, I don't know, I've got some definite lines there that I don't like. So I'm doing them big screen right now just to show you guys. If you're doing your own, big screen's going to be, it's going to get you sort of a lousy image, so do zoom in, but I'll show you what it looks like just as a hack job. So I'm just going to finish it off really quickly here for you. Not doing a good job, expecting that you guys would do better. This is just so you know what I'm doing. Not super awesome. It's almost better though to take a little more of the hillside than it is a little more of the sky, because if you leave the sky in there, what you're going to get often is like, if I don't know if you can see it right where I'm covering, you're going to get like a strip of white and it almost kind of highlights where your mistakes are made. So I would always err with taking a little bit off the hills or the background as opposed to leaving a little more sky. Okay, so I have that, and that looks fairly ridiculous, right? That doesn't actually look like it's going to go super well. The first thing I was going to do is, the sky looks really dark and really saturated for me. Here does not. I'm just going to zoom out a bit more. They look like they're two different pictures, but if you play with them in layers, you can change that. So I'm going to go to the background layer first, and then I'm actually going to desaturate it. It looks too dark. It looks too blue. It doesn't look really authentic. So I'm going to go to Enhance Colors, and I'm going to tone down the saturation just a bit. I'm also thinking, is it light? Is it dark? It might be even a bit too contrasted, so I might play. Oh, make sure you're in your background layers, and if it goes out of view, that's kind of why. The next thing I want to play with is maybe, instead of desaturating the back, I'm going to super saturate the front. So go to layer 1. I'm going to go over to guided. You can do it in expert too, there's ways to do it, but I'm going to go enhance, and I'm going to saturate. And that's probably a bit too much. And you can see when you start doing this that you get some lines here that aren't super awesome, which is why it takes a lot of detailed work. If I like the hue, I don't really want to change that. See, if you make one more change in guided, then it puts you back to finishing the whole screen. So make one change at a time, go done, and then go back to expert to click on the layer that you want to work on. So I think that I'm not so, yeah, I still don't think they have a smooth transfer. So I think that I'm going to contrast this a bit more, because I see more contrast here. So if you're not wanting to go back and forth to guided each time, at the top you can just go enhance, adjust lighting, contrast. That'll get me to contrast. I like to move it off so I can see. And that's looking slightly better. How do I feel about brightness? I think that's getting a bit closer. Okay, the other thing you can do, if it's just really dark in here and you want to kind of fix the center part here a bit, go to your brushes, make sure you're in not in background here, go to layer 1, because that's where your first land file came in. Go to brush, make it black, and then go to darken. And again, you just kind of want to play with size. I might make my opacity, bring that down a bit so you don't get like a black line. I'm going to go here, and then you can sort of just brush it in, and it takes a little bit of time, but you can brush in the darkness. It looks like that's, oh, okay, it's because my layer is probably locked. So I'm at a point where I think they're semi-close enough that I can sort of use them. And then I'll go back to the brush tool. Now I'm just going to crop out that bottom because it's driving me nuts. So go to your marquee tool. And I just want to get rid of this because that just is kind of bugging me. And then go image crop. See, now I have one picture even a little bit better there. Okay, now if I think that I've done playing in each layer, I'm going to go layer, flatten image. Okay, now I can use my brush tool. You have to use a brush tool on a flattened image. So go to brush, over here. I don't get out of there. Brush right here. Darken. I'd bring my opacity. I'd start at about 50 and see where you're going to go. How big is that? No, I probably want a bit bigger. Always use feather though if you're doing this, just so you don't get really hard lines. And then, see, that to me is too dark. Edit, undo brush tool. So I would bring my opacity even more down. And then I might just, I'd probably zoom in again too and just paint a little bit of dark in there. I'm doing kind of a rush job so you get an idea, but I can show you a finished file. Or I could do a lighten tool right there. Another thing you can do is, let me just find it here for you. You could use your blur tool, and what you can do is, just to give it a little more clarity, I would just take a quick sweep through here using the blur tool, and then your lines become a little less dramatic too. This is kind of not the most awesome job because it takes me about 40 minutes for a photo doing this, and you probably will not enjoy watching that. But once you've made all of your changes, then you can just do basic changes to the whole thing, like I would maybe contrast it out or whatever you want to do. I still feel like it's a bit dark here, and I would probably have played around with that a little bit more, but there's a start. So remember that if you're in guided, you need to have two files. You need to have your regular file and your cloud file. You're going to drag that regular file, you're going to copy it, you're going to paste it on here. You're going to make sure that in your window section you have layers shown so that you can see the layers over here, and then you're going to erase. They're not going to show my layers now because I flattened, but then you're going to erase the sky and you're going to reveal the background image. So I hope that gives you enough to get started. Sorry I'm not joining you guys today. Should be in my class for the last 15 minutes, so today if you want to call and check in and if you have any questions. Okay, I'm back.